most business advice fails when it's not stage specific. What works in stage 2 and helps you to break into stage 3, if you're trying to implement a stage 4 tactic, it's not going to work.
There's not cookie cutter approach. It just doesn't work.
The tactics that are out there that people say don't work probably do work, but at a different stage to the stage you're at. So you've got to be really aware of which stage you're in, and certainly don't apply something that's from someone in a completely different stage. Welcome to today's episode of Business Growth Lab. I'm your co-host, Samantha Riley, alongside my co-host for today, Leon Flitton. Leon, I'm going to dive straight in today because
Okay,
that's
here we
that's
go.
how I'm feeling. This Aries energy has just got me like acting like the Nike girl, right? Just do it. Leon, what's the most chaotic thing that's happened to you this week?
Great question. Well, actually, there was something that was kind of funny and very chaotic. So we decided that we're going to try some new software out, and well, we did, and that lasted about 10 hours before we ditched it. So,
Was it that long? Was it a whole 10 hours?
I think so, on and off. Yes, it was, but it was very frustrating. But I think it brings up a good point, though, was you need to make sure that you are trying these things out in business. It's trial and error. That's the way business works. So we tried it, didn't
Yeah.
work, we ditched it.
Well, actually, like, yes, it was chaotic because I wanted something specific done and we had a different piece of software and it wasn't quite working as I wanted it to. And if you're listening and you don't know me that well, I am sometimes very difficult to work with because I know exactly what I want. So I'd gone back to Leon and the team and said, "This isn't working exactly as I want it. I think this other piece of software will do it." And so I just paid for it and gave it to you, went, "There you go. So that other 12 hours that you'd spent putting that together, can you just do the whole thing again?" How I walked out from this alive, I will never know. Because I actually, as it got to last night, I was feeling a little bit guilty. But no, it didn't work. But what it did was help us to realize that we could actually get the first piece of software to work in the way I wanted it. And if you hadn't have gone through the process with the second piece of software, you never would have known that. And so even though it was a very frustrating 12 hours for you, and I sincerely apologize, um, I think the bright side, well, the bright side is that we actually got it to work exactly how I wanted it. And I think you going through that second piece of software helped you to realize how it worked. But two, I think that that's really important as business owners that we actually just make a decision really quickly. I think too many people sit on decisions or and ah for days or weeks or months or my goodness, some people I speak to years where I made that decision. I paid for that piece of software within 10 minutes, but also there was a point where I went, you know what, ditch it. Let's go back. This is going to work another way. And actually reached out to the team. And because we'd only had it for a couple of hours, managed to get a refund on that for the month. So I think all's well that ends well.
Yeah, and you're right. It did actually let us streamline what we're trying to do in the first place with the other piece of software anyway. So it ended up working out quite okay, apart from the frustration part in the middle of
I was
it
going
going.
to say, apart from the fact that you've got a lot of extra grey hairs now, I apologize. I
Can you
really
see?
do. Yeah,
That's from
look at
yesterday.
that.
Thanks, babe.
Can I reiterate, all's well that ends well?
Oh dear. Okay, well, let's put that down to a bit of Aries energy and a bit of craziness.
Absolutely. It's very fast moving. It's very fast paced right now.
Yeah, yeah. But on the flip side of chaotic, you did something last week which you've been telling me about for quite a while. So, and it's probably
Yes,
one of
my
your
brain's like, where
favorite.
are we going
Oh
with
no,
this?
it's one of your favorites, and it's about dancing. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. You've been to it for quite a while. This is
So
your favorite.
I do have, and I have spoken about in this podcast, my all-time favorite ballet is Romeo and Juliet. I haven't actually shared the story about why. I don't even know if I've shared with you why it's my favorite ballet,
Oh, I just
Leon.
know it's your favorite. I
I
listened.
haven't even told you. So you do listen. You're a very good man, Charlie Brown. um, When I was, I'm guessing around 11 or 12, I was in a children's ballet company. And that ballet company was called on, like whenever there was a professional production that came to our city, they would go to the children's ballet company for extras, or if they needed different people. Anyway, the Australian Ballet came and they needed four extras for the production of Romeo and Juliet. They needed two boys and two girls. um, in theatre or dance or musical theatre, whatever it is, you don't get chosen because you're just good. Like, you have to be good, right? So that's kind of the first thing. But you also have to fit a specific size. Like, you either have to be a specific height or a specific body shape, because that's who fits the costume, right? Or it's who fits the profile of the character. Anyway, I got chosen straight away because, well, because A, I was short, and B, I was actually not too bad. I was pretty good.
Well, that would help.
God, I was trying to sound so egotistical, wasn't I? But I was quite, um, I was a good dancer. I wasn't exceptional. There was a lot of girls way better than me, but I was really good at acting, and that's how I overcame the fact that I wasn't the best dancer, and that often got me picked for a lot of things, because there's a bit of a joke in dance that people look at your face, they don't look at your feet, but your feet have to be really good, right? This is a really long story, but I promise I'm getting somewhere. So anyway, I was picked for this role, and I went to the Australian Ballet, and my sister came with me. And guess what? For the one and only time in my entire life, I was too tall. It's the only time I've ever been too tall for anything.
No,
And I
surely
never got
not.
to be the extra. And because my sister was with me and she was shorter, they put her in, and I was devastated. However, you know what the Australian Ballet Company did? They allowed me to stand backstage and watch the production every night for the entire season, because we had to go and drop her off at the stage door anyway. So there was this little, like a cage that was just behind the front wing, and I was allowed to stand in there every night. So, the dancers were coming on and off next to me, and that was when I really fell in love with ballet. That's when I'm like, I want to do this for a career. And I think because I heard that I've mentioned before that I love the score. I heard it over every night, every night, every night, and it just brings. I think the reason I love it so much is it brings back the memories of me as this very short but not short enough person that got to stand backstage. And I remember meeting at that time, Lisa Pavan and David McAllister were Romeo and Juliet, and they were my idols. I had pictures where other people had pictures of, Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger, on Michael Jackson on their wall. I had pictures of ballet dancers, and I had David McAllister and Lisa Pavan on my bedroom wall. And when they came and met me in person to sign my program, I took one look at them and I burst into tears. I couldn't even talk. I was so embarrassed, and at the same time, I couldn't help myself. I was so overcome with emotion. So anyway, that's why it's my favorite ballet. Yes, we did go and watch it last week, and it was every bit as beautiful as it was the first time. And we were lucky enough to see Ravi play Romeo, who and only 3 nights earlier had been promoted to principal soloist. So that was really special. He was just amazing. And I'm proud of you, Leon, for sitting through a really hardcore ballet. Like, that's real hardcore classical ballet. And you didn't fidget at all. And you sat there and you smiled and you looked like you enjoyed yourself. And don't tell me if you didn't, because I liked it.
So a few things to apologize for here is, well, I'll get to that in a sec, but a point to note is that Sam was too tall for one thing in her life. Her sister is now taller than her. It's the second point. And
Everyone's taller than me.
and I apologize for my incompetence with ballet terminology. Jumpy flippy things are not actually a real terminology for ballet.
No, I loved it how in the intermission you said, "Wow, those jumpy flippy things are really good."
Yes, I apologize for
Oh,
that.
anyway, thanks for letting me share that story. Let's dive into today's episode, because we're going to talk about the 5 stages every service business goes through, and exactly how to know which one you're in. And the reason that you need to know this is because most business advice fails because it's not stage specific. I nearly said Pacific. Oh my goodness. When it's not stage specific. So if you're, what works in stage two, and helps you to break into stage three, if you're trying to implement a stage four tactic, it's not going to work. So why I'm mentioning this is because the tactics that are out there that people say don't work probably do work, but at a different stage to the stage you're at. And it's really important to note that. And I was chatting with a good friend of mine the other day in business, and we were talking about paid workshops and free workshops or webinars. And that there is an influencer that talks about paid workshops are the only way to go. Well, it only is like that when you're in stage 4 or stage 5. And if you're trying to build your list, it absolutely does not work. That doesn't mean that paid workshops don't work, but if you're in stage 1, 2, 3, and probably 4, they are not going to work. So you've got to be really aware of which stage you're in so that you understand what tactics, strategies, advice you're applying, and certainly don't apply something that's from someone in a completely different stage.
Yeah, totally agree. So I think that this stage it's not cookie cutter, and depending on where you're starting from, it's really going to depend on what your next move is. So you can't be all doing the same particular strategy process, whatever you want to call it. I suppose it's more strategy at this stage. That the other persons are doing, and think it's going to be the same result. Like it's just very open, and it's just not cookie cutter.
Totally. I know in the green room you were talking about, like, if you started a production company and tried to do exactly the same things that Oprah was doing in her production company right now, it wouldn't work because she's in stage 5, and if you were starting it, you would be in stage 1.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, I wanted to bring that up because it was a really good
yeah.
analogy that you used. But let's dive in. So there's we're going to talk about the 5 stages. Stage 1 is startup. We all know startup. Every single one of us has been there. This is the hustle stage. Everything depends on you. Everything is starting from scratch. You're looking for clients, you're delivering the work, you're doing the admin, you're doing the marketing, you are, connecting with the people. I think even though this is a hustle stage, I think it's really exciting too, Leon. I think because it's like, oh, we're doing this thing, and you've kind of got this adrenaline of like, yeah, we're going. So even though you're doing all the things, you can still sustain at, like kind of long hours because you're still excited. There's generally no team to help you. There's no revenue to be able to hire anyone. It's a pretty crazy time.
Yeah, look, a lot of the business that we see as well. I think if you look at startup stage, they're probably injecting their own time into it. They're hustling, and they're probably like, yes, and new into it. It's almost like a novelty, isn't it? Like it's really exciting and fresh, and really you're happy to just go at it, and I don't know, do 80-hour weeks or whatever you got to do. So like and get it launched, and it is definitely a hustle stage. And look, even if you're throwing dollars at it, you're still hustling. So
Absolutely,
startup one is
absolutely.
hustle.
Yeah, it is. So the identity of the startup person is founder. You're the one that founds everything.
Well, you did found it.
Founded.
So I founded it.
And at this stage, you are the business. You are the entire business. And it's okay at this stage. Actually, it's not just okay, it's actually necessary. That's exactly what needs to happen. The mistake I see people making in stage 1 is trying to build systems and structure things before they actually have proven demand. It doesn't work trying to build systems before you've actually done them. Because you could be creating a system. You should be like your time is way better spent going out and getting clients. But two, you don't actually know if that system works. So it's essentially a waste of time. You must do it. And I see actually a minority of people, not many people I see doing this, but some people spend all their time almost hiding behind, I need to create the systems. and they're not actually out. They're doing the things that are needed to get the clients in the door, to get the dollar in the door. And it doesn't work like that. You must get the clients, you've got to provide the service, you've got to prove that it works. You need proof of concept. Everything else will come later. And there is a danger zone in stage 1 in staying here too long because it's familiar. And some people get comfortable in the chaos. And I think sometimes there's a real dopamine hit from that chaos, from that like go, 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 go. And they never escape that. But the problem is that it's not sustainable. So if you stay here in this stage, you will burn out.
Yeah, it's almost as if that you actually need to do a lot of these things yourself because you need to understand how it works. So you've got a real good grasp of how everything goes together, works, fits. You know where the things start to break, stuff like that, just to get going. And I think you're right. It's almost like people get addicted to the chaos and
Yeah.
the craziness and the work. But like you said, I think they can get addicted and get stuck in there as well, which is also not a good thing.
Totally. And I know that I've talked about it on this show before that as, you know, uh, good, I was, good entrepreneurs that we are, it's amazing how often you can get to like stage 5 and go like break things on purpose. So you end back at stage 1 because you get a bit bored. Don't do it. I've done it before. 10
100%
out of
do not
10, do not
recommend.
recommend.
Exactly.
All right, so let's talk about stage 2. So everyone knows stage 1. Stage 2 is operator stage, and the identity at this stage is business owner. This is where you've got proof of concept of your product or your offer or your service. There's clients coming in, revenues growing. I think this is really exciting when you see the numbers going up and you're like, oh, yeah, it's finally working, but you're still doing everything. So you're still doing everything like stage 1, but things are starting to work. You're still delivering, still selling, marketing, still managing. So you've gone from founder to business owner, but you're still the worker. And this stage can feel really successful because the numbers are going up. And in lots and lots of ways it is because you do have the proof of concept. But if you don't start to change that identity of who you are, your relationships, your reputation, your energy, all of these things can really take a hit because really what you've built is a better paid job. Now, what's really tricky about this stage is you still need to make sure that enough revenue is coming in the door. Otherwise, you can't get to the next stage. So, I do hear people saying, oh, I'm still doing all the operator tasks, but they still don't have enough money coming in the door to be able to get to the next stage. So, it's a real balancing act to make sure that you're still paying attention to sales so that you can start to build the structure to get to the next stage.
Yeah, it's almost like a bit of an imaginary cap that's keeping you there where like you just said there, like you're trying to get enough dollars to get to the next stage, but then you work yourself into a job too much and then you're kind of stuck and then you can't kind of move forwards and yeah, you're still busy because you're busy from stage 1.
You're super
Yeah.
busy and it's not as exciting as it was in stage 1.
Yeah, and that's probably a good point to note as well, yeah. Not as exciting.
N- No, no. And at that stage, that's where people can really be like, "Oh my god, can I keep doing this? Like this is getting crazy."
Yeah, yeah.
I suggest if you're in stage 2 that you spend all of your time, and by all, I don't mean 100% because obviously we still have to do taxes, but the majority of your day, like 80% of every single day, is all around leads and sales. Leads and sales, leads and sales, leads and sales.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that this is probably the part where you start to see stuff break? Not on purpose in this case, but you're because you're stretched so thin, trying to do everything yourself as a business owner still that this is where things start breaking on you.
This is where you'll start to notice it, and even probably more than break, I would say things falling through the cracks.
Hmm.
It's where you forget to follow up leads, you forget to send someone an onboarding email or a welcome email. It's when you're moving so fast that you're forgetting to do the things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great point. Yeah, I was like the leads. That's probably the biggest thing. No one wants to see leads slipping away.
That's right, and most people at stage 2 don't even notice because they're
Yeah,
so busy they
well,
forgot that they've even spoken to them. They're not like, "Oh, I haven't chased that up." I remember someone sharing on the podcast years ago that they bumped into someone at the supermarket and they said, "Oh, I reached out to you, I haven't seen you for a year." And he's like, "Well, yeah, I reached out to you a year ago because I wanted to work with you." And he's like, "Oh my God, I was so embarrassed because I'd just forgotten." Like,
You know what the funny thing is though, is that you have leads slipping through the crack, for example, but then you need the cash flow to keep moving up stages.
right?
So-
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. The funny thing about stage 2 though is it's known. You are the one that's doing everything, so it's all living in your head, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit in the
Mm,
next
yeah,
stage because this
yeah.
is a really important point. Even though you're doing everything, you know everything that's going on. Even if things are slipping through the cracks, you know where every email is, you know where all your documents are, you know what you normally send in an email, you know how to respond to an inquiry, like, you just know how to do it all because you created it all, which makes this step into stage 3, I was gonna say a little bit tricky, but actually a lot tricky because stage 3 is the hardest stage, I believe. And stage 3 is the constraint stage. And this is where you're stuck in the messy middle. It's the hardest stage because growth generally has slowed a little bit, not because you've stopped marketing or stopped trying or stopped selling, but it's usually because you've become the bottleneck. So, what happens at stage 3 is you've got a team member or a couple of team members. So, you've made the hire, but the business still needs you for everything. So, you've got these team members that are sitting there twiddling their thumbs, waiting for the next task because you, as the business owner, are running around like a chook with your head cut off. That's Australian for running around a little bit crazy. And um, you're unable to stop and explain this is the project we're working on, or this is the context, or this is how you move on and do something. You generally haven't onboarded your team well. They're sitting back waiting because they don't know what to do, or they're waiting for you to approve something, whether it's your content or a design piece or whatever it is. Everything is still stopping with you, and you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, I've hired team. Why am I busier? It's because you're the bottleneck. And if you stop, the income stops. So that's the scary part. If you stop, the income stops. So every attempt to step back creates more chaos rather than freedom. And I think that's what makes this stage super and uniquely painful is you're doing all the right things. You've done what people have told you to do. You've hired someone, you're trying to build systems, you're trying to scale, you're trying to bring leads in. Maybe the person that you hired's got a salesperson, but you haven't been able to effectively get the sales process out of your head. So it feels worse because it is absolute chaos around you.
I was just thinking about the HR, well, HR, not sorry, HR, the people management part of it, because not everyone's had exposure to people management.
Yeah.
And just, like, so you're trying to like grow this business and scale it. At the same time, if you haven't had exposure to it, dealing with teams is, well, it's not, it could be difficult, could be more difficult for some than others, but it still adds a complexity to what you're trying to do, because before it was like, well, you can tell yourself to do something because you're it. And now you have a team there that you need to be able to, like, guide them, and get the main points across to them as well, and like, steer them in the right direction and give them the big vision as well. But at the same time, like you said, you have all the processes inside your head and all that kind of thing, so you need to try and
Totally.
get that across to them. So
You
forth.
said it does like, it might not be difficult. I tell you, for me, when I opened my first business, I was 20, and we had our first team member when by the time I was 21. I'd only ever been a junior in any position. I'd had multiple positions, but I'd only ever been a junior. I'd never certainly had to tell anyone what to do. I was the person that I was the toldee. I was the one that everyone told what to do.
The
I had
minion.
no idea about leadership. I had no idea about management. I certainly had no idea about leadership. And I let's layer in the fact that I was a huge, like a massive big thinker. So the gap between my team and my head that was way up in the clouds at 55,000 feet was so far apart that I used to get so frustrated that they couldn't see what I saw. But I wasn't sharing, I wasn't telling them what I saw. Like, I have learnt so much over the years. I was the I was going to say the worst leader. I wasn't even a leader. I had no idea what leader meant at 21 years old. So for me, this one, I got stuck in the constraint stage for an overly long time the first time round.
I feel like you need to ask that. What's that? The difference between a leader and a manager as well?
Mm,
Because in the other in the lower stages, you're managing all the tasks pretty much. And then as it
yeah.
gets into stage three, you're trying to like manage the tasks and then manage the people. And then you dealing with personalities and different styles of how people like to be managed, stuff like that. So it makes it difficult. But I was just thinking about one of the things that I do see is with VAs, for example, is that people like to spend time finding jobs for them to do when they're actually there to save you
Mm.
time, not spend more time. So
If you're listening to this and you're finding your VAs jobs to do, don't do that. It's the wrong way around. Your job is to share the project, help them be accountable, help them to understand how they are crucial to the project getting done. Like, make them accountable, give them KPIs, help them to be empowered to get the work done instead of sitting around and twiddling their thumbs and waiting for the next task. Because yeah, you'll be in this forever if you like that. There's something that's really, really important about this stage, Leon, and I've never heard anyone talk about this. There's probably millions, but I personally have never heard anyone talk about this. And that's that this particular stage feels ugh. It feels really icky. It really is the messy middle. It's going to feel worse before it feels better. And it's not a sign that you're doing it wrong, but it's the tax that you have to pay to get from stage 2 to stage 4. You have to pay the constraint tax to get through. And if you're not willing to pay it, what will happen is you will end up going back and applying stage 2 solutions. You'll hustle more, you'll create more content, you'll spend more hours doing the things instead of treating your stage 3 problem in a different way. You can't hustle your way out of a structural constraint. You have to fix the structure. So the difference in this stage is that it's called the messy middle because you're still kind of doing those operator tasks, but you're also assuming a new identity. And you have to actually, you almost have a foot in both camps doing this because you can't put your foot firmly, like both feet firmly in stage 4 because because you have to create the systems, you have to train the team, you have to create the processes. It all needs to come out of your head. So the reason it's called the messy middle is because it's messy. It is hard and it's supposed to feel hard and it's going to feel hard, but it's the tax that you have to pay to get to stage 4. And you've got a choice. You either pay that tax to get to stage 4 or you go, you know what, I'm not going to. It's too hard and slip back to stage 2. Um, but, like I always say, choose your heart, either stay in operator stage or pay the tax and get to stage 4. You get to choose.
yeah, as long as not stay at the option three where you go and get a job because stuff that. But I
Ugh.
love what you I love
That's
what
a
you said.
horrible option.
Yeah, that's a
Although
crap.
it probably does work for some people. I
Yeah, look,
couldn't think of
for
anything
some
worse
people,
for me, but yeah.
well, I have a problem with authority, so no, thank you. Um, but I love the way you explained that or described it about you need to pay the tax to get through it. So you're hustling in the lower stages and you still got to keep at it, but you need to pay the tax to move through it. And there's obviously a lot more than this
It's
hustling
a
along.
different kind of hustle.
Mm.
It's still a hustle, but it's a different kind. It's not the startup hustle of just like do, 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 do. It's the work that feels hard because you've never done it before, creating the systems, getting the things out of your head, and having the patience with your team to create the foundations to move forward. So it's a really, really different feeling.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing you said there was the I think you called it identity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's something that's huge at this point because you're trying to move through to stage 4, but without the identity shift, and whether it's creating a new one or manipulating your old one or however you want to say it, I think it's more like creating a new one. But without that, I don't see how you can actually move through, and that's going to mean that you're going to be uncomfortable. That means you need to let go of some things as well, and that's going to be difficult because as you're expanding and scaling and growing, at some point you need to let someone else take responsibility and do the things without you having your finger on every button everywhere.
Mm, totally. So you need to fix things in a certain order. For example, your positioning needs to be fixed before your marketing. Your marketing needs to be fixed before your sales. So let me explain this. A lot of people will say, I need more clients. So what they do is they spend time on their sales call or their sales process. So they spend time refining their sales process, but maybe they don't have the leads coming through to activate or implement this refined sales process, which means that they've just wasted months refining sales when they still don't have leads coming in the door. So it's really, really important that things are fixed in the right order, or their marketing night might not be hitting. It might be the fact that you don't know how to run Facebook ads, but it might be the fact that your messaging isn't quite hitting. And if your messaging isn't hitting, it doesn't matter what your targeting is like on Facebook or how you set up your ads, because targeting is kind of obsolete, let's be honest. If you don't do the things in the right order, all you're doing is wasting time. You need to fix your systems before you scale because that's how you do scale. So if you get the order wrong, all of the effort and time that you're spending to refine these things in your business actually produces nothing. And then what will happen is you'll start blaming yourself because your business isn't working like you want it to do, and your confidence drops. You go, I can't do this forever. I'm not made out for I'm not the person to be doing this. And you start telling yourself all sorts of stories, and then you either zip back into stage 2 where you're like, it's just easier. I'll just have a little business. And that's when I start telling the stories like, oh, I'm happy with with $2,500 a week, that I'm happy with that, when maybe they're not. I mean, maybe you are, but most people are not. They want more than that. And those stories get in the way, and that becomes their identity again. And that's why it's really important to assume the identity of the stage 4 business owner so that you start making the decisions, like being very analytical and very data driven at like when I looking at my business, what am I fixing next? Making sure it's in the right order so that you don't start blaming yourself and shaming yourself, because I can tell you this, I know that if you're listening, you are capable of this. It's just the sequence that you need to go through.
We have done a podcast episode on that thinking process as well, about thinking big enough. But what I wanted to say in this case here was everything you've done through stage 1 and 2 is actually a whole lot of data has
Mhm.
been produced by it. So I think what you're saying about the right order, and if we think about the data that's created, if you know how to put it together, you can actually identify what those constraints are, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, totally. And you can do it quite quickly. If you take the emotion out of looking at the data, it'll give you what you need so that you can move through really quickly. So, if you pay the constraint tax, if you pay the stage 3 tax, you'll wind up in stage 4, and stage 4 is scale. And this is what stage 3 is building toward. The systems are working, the team's taking ownership, your revenue's predictable, the growth of your business is no longer dependent on you as the founder, and the identity shift here is significant. Not only is it significant, but I'd love you to speak to this, Leon, because you've seen a lot of people go through this. How much do you think that going from stage 3 to stage 4 is on tactics? And how much have you noticed, or how much do you notice it's based on the identity shift of the owner of the business?
Yeah. You know, I almost feel like it's 100% on the identity shift. it's
It's
it's so
incredible, isn't
heavily
it?
biased towards the identity shift and how you behave and what you do and how you run the business, the thought processes. I mean, you can look back at stage 2 and 3 and say, start to remove yourself from doing all the jobs in the business, but that just goes next level with stage 4. And without that, it's almost like a reinvention for some people. There are,
Ah, totally.
yeah, and
Yep.
to move through it. And you'd probably see it now if you've ever worked in corporate. You will see that shift when someone goes from like being like, well, I was in retail, right? So you go from a store manager to being a group manager. The identity shift there is huge. But in the same case, this is just as big. It's like going from just being the worker, which is what you are in stage 2, pretty much, because you're doing all things, um, to really stepping into that leadership role. It's a big change, and a lot of people really struggle with it. They really struggle to
Totally. You're
to let
making
go of some of those things that
decisions
they
in
need
a
to.
different way, right?
Yeah, 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 totally. I suppose the first, I'm just thinking about now, going, well, stage 1 and 2, like it's exciting. It's emotional. Like stage 2, still the
Mm.
same. Like you're building. When you get to stage 4, though, a lot of decisions you make need to be remove the emotion from it,
Mhm.
and being very business analytical, so that the decisions that you're making um, are made in the right way for the greater good of the business.
Can I just say something that I feel like a lot of people listening to that will be like, "Yeah, but I don't wanna lose the emotion." What you're not saying is lose the emotion. You're saying lose the emotion to the data and the
Hmm.
business decisions, but still be empathetic and filled with emotion as the leader and the business owner. They're two totally different things. So when I look at my data or when we look at the data, there's no emotion. It's just numbers on a page and it's like what decision do I need to make to move that number from there from 30% to 40%? That's what we're removing the emotion um, from. We're not removing the emotion on someone that a client that's, you know, um, going through a hard time. That's not what we're talking about. And I wanted to mention that because I could already feel that pushing people's buttons.
Yeah, it's not to be heartless or anything as well. It's not about that.
No, not at
It's
all.
but there is times when you need to make a decision based on what the data is telling you from the business and where you want to go with it and what you need to do that to get the business to where it needs to be. And you probably still hold the emotion of going, I want to grow this business to X, whatever that figure is, if that's what your aim is, or service X amount of people, or whatever the goal you set. And I'm sure there's some kind of monetary value in there somewhere, even if it's serving X amount of cool clients, or whatever it is. But those decisions need to be really data driven, analytical decisions. So
Totally. Yeah. So that identity shift is where you stop being the operator, you start being the CEO. So you're making decisions differently. You're not in the business all day, you're working on the business. Decisions are being made without you by your team, and you're okay with that. Not only are you okay with that, but you've trained them to do that. Clients are getting served without you being at every single interaction. The business runs whether you're there or not. So when you take a week off, your business doesn't grind to a halt. Like if you're in startup or operator, if you take a week off, the business stops. At scale stage, you take a week off and the business doesn't skip a beat. It's just that you're not there. It doesn't mean that you disappear. It means that your role changes. You're you're more big vision, you're setting the direction that the business is going in. You're making strategic decisions rather than tactical decisions. You're leading the team. You still might be delivering, but you're certainly not delivering everything. You're certainly not chasing all the leads or managing every detail. And I think that one of the biggest mistakes that we see in the scale stage is that the founder or the owner can get quite comfortable and like almost plateau as well. Like just be like, oh, it's like the stop, but they're not like taking that big vision. They're not taking that new like that CEO identity, and they just kind of like back off and take off. And if you're not evolving the business or developing the team or thinking about what comes next, this can have a really dire consequence
Yeah.
in the next stage.
We used to have a saying that was, if you're not growing, you're actually going backwards. So being stagnant
Totally.
is like going backwards. And what you
Yep.
said just then as well, 100% agree with. And like the part that was the, if you're not upskilling your team more, like if you're not constantly evolving, if your own personal development isn't developing, um, you're really going to stagnate. And I think that's a bad thing for your business, because if the leader's stagnating, then chances are that filters down. Everyone's just stagnates as well. So, but I think, as a leader, you need to be showing, where you are, that you're trying to develop personally, and and business wise as well, to always go forward. So if you're not, like you said, developing your staff, and your processes aren't kind of getting more efficient in those things, like you're not working on those, and being stagnant there is probably the detrimental part of being stuck in stage 4.
Yeah, totally, totally. You were talking about upskilling, and I think a part of this is also like up leveling yourself, like whatever that personal development looks like to you. I was having a conversation with a partner just last week, and he said something which I'd never heard before. So I might get this wrong. If I do get this wrong, please reach out and tell me, DM me on Instagram and tell me what the real quote is. But what I think I remember he said was that business owner, like six-figure business owners, don't think astrology makes any difference to their business. Eight-figure business owners know that astrology makes a difference to their business. And I think that you can insert whatever sort of personal development thing that you're leaning into to be the more or the better person,
you know One of the things that I noticed when I always talk about like retail because I did it for so many years. But one of the things I noticed was when I was a store manager, for example, years and years and years ago, was that if you came in with you having a bad day and you came into work, and then it would filter through for the rest of the team, and they would have a bad day.
yeah.
So I'm not woo woo, but what I think is that and whether it's energy or astrology or whatever modality you want to use in that, if you're not somehow in alignment with what you're doing, and you will, it will, I think it does actually tend to like really affect your business.
Yeah. I've just found the quote:
Oh, you did.
millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. So there's the quote. We've got it.
Oh, so normally I'm the one that's mincing it.
Oh, I minced it. I minced it. Hey, look, it was such a great conversation. I wasn't like focused on remembering the quote. I was like, oh, wow, that was profound. Let's talk about stage 5. If you make it through to stage 5, there's one of two things that will happen. Stage 5 is either legacy, so you're building something bigger, or you will decline and you will fade out. And that's what we were talking about at the end of stage 4, is that founder that kind of backs off and stops injecting that vision or that energy into the business. It can fade out. And it really is a fork in the road. And I know that there was a business owner I worked with about 15 years ago. And I came in, it was a business that I really loved. It was a business that I really believed in. And the owner was going through a bit of like, "Ugh, I don't kind of know where business is heading. I don't understand CRMs and building lists and social media and all the things." So it went, look, I really believe in what you've got here. How about I put together a entire strategy and we roll it out over, I think it was a 45-day rollout. And I went, and if it works, will you take me on? He's like, absolutely. what happened, we rolled out this strategy. It built their list with thousands of people. They got so much engagement on social media. Probably the most engagement I've ever got on anyone's social media account. Like the shares were in the thousands. We did a big special weekend. They did the highest sales that they'd ever done in the company's history in 20 years in one weekend. This weekend, I put this whole strategy together. It was massive. I was so excited. Like he rang me like on Sunday night. Oh my God, this is the best thing ever, Sam. Like this was incredible. And I went, cool. How about like, let's touch base tomorrow and discuss what we're going to do working moving forward. And you know what he said to me? He went, oh, Sam, you know what? This was a bit exciting, but I'm just going to keep doing what I've always done.
Oh dear.
I still have no words that don't include swearing on that one. I learned a big lesson that
Yep.
I can't have more passion for someone else's business than they have
Mhm.
themselves.
Yep.
So they're either building a legacy or they're declining, and that business declined.
Yep.
Funnily enough, just a couple of years later, and I was sad for the business, but I wasn't sad for that person.
Uh, um, I was just going to say, I've just thought of something that, so quick story time. So, I don't know if you know or not, people listening in, I'm actually a butcher by trade. So, uh, uh,
Really long time
really, yeah, a
ago.
long, long
A
time
few
ago.
lifetimes ago, Leon was a butcher.
Yeah, yeah, many lifetimes ago. So, one of the things we were told about butcher shops at the time was the father builds the, well, so the dude, right? First guy. He's probably the father. He builds the shop. So he's the one who goes to stage 1 and 2. He hustles and he gets it moving and he gets it working. And he somehow or other gets it to stage 3. Now the son joins him and they manage to get through to stage 4. Now the father moves and retires and the son runs it. And then the grandson comes along and he's in stage 5. The shop's humming, but they let it fizzle out. So apparently that's what happens to most of the
Mm,
butcher shops. They actually like,
yeah.
yeah, the father, son, and the grandson, they actually ends it through a cycle and it goes out of business. But I just,
That it makes sense because if you don't have the passion, it's really hard to build.
yeah, and exactly that's happened because it was just, and you know, the father built it, the son saw it, and then the grandson took it over, but he didn't see what it took to get it going in the first place and didn't have the same passion
Yeah.
because it wasn't, through the father that the passion came across to run the business. But it's still got the 5 stages through it. So I may be slightly
Yeah.
incorrect with where stage 1 and 2 and 3 were, but by the time the son joins in, they're heading to stage 4. So they're well and truly into it and
Yeah.
they run it and they maintain it, but get complacent. But then stage 5 is where it then drifts away to nothingness and they close it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense too from a different standpoint in that the son is with the father through that whole journey. Like they're sitting at the kitchen table at dinner and hearing the stories and seeing what the dad does. Because my 3 children are all in jobs; they're all employed, um, which is crazy to me that they want to do that. They all tell me it's because they've watched what happened at our kitchen table, but they've taken so many lessons from what happened, the conversations at our dinner table, into their job. And I feel that they're all really doing very well in their careers. And I think it's because they've got that perception of the business owner and what needs to happen and the employee. That's total side quest that we just went on there.
Yeah, yeah, it
But
is. I'm not woo woo,
I
but
think
you
that
got
in your story, the grandson wasn't there to hear those stories.
yeah, well, but say just I know it's a bit of a side quest here, but is that because the energy that the father had that transferred to the son then fizzled out with the grandson? So
Mm,
I'm not woo woo, but was that an energy thing? Probably was.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, probably.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Huh,
What
wow.
other dangers are there in stage 5 though? I know there's sometimes these businesses that start off things that are a bit of a fad moment for a business, so to speak.
Yeah, like a market condition
Yeah, yeah.
or a personal energy level or something that's personally happened in your life that gives you motivation or a direction at that specific time. Like maybe like for me, when I started my business, it was because I had 2 toddlers at home. And I was in a job, I was in a corporate career, and I was just like, I'm never going to see them because I knew to get to the income level that I wanted in the career, I was watching people above me going, oh my God, they're still at the office at 8 o'clock at night. And I want that income level, but I don't want to live that life. Ha ha, joke's on me because I worked for longer than that when I when I was in startup and operator. But it all did work out in the end. I
Pay
paid
the
the
tax, pay the
taxes and
tax.
made it through. Exactly. Is that what you're saying? That there's businesses that are built around moments in time?
Yeah, yeah, and there's particular like trends as well that business can be built around. That I mean, some guy might have had a business that was around fidget spinners.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
right.
like
And if the business doesn't adapt, look, I mean, you look at any TikTok trend, chili honey, clinkers, all of the talk about COVID, toilet paper, like things that go through, they all of a sudden they need to like up manufacture or it gets really busy and then all of a sudden it just dies out. Like
yep,
that was a product idea, but it's the same sort of thing. So you do need to adapt when things change, when market conditions change, when your personal energy levels change, trends change. I think that's really important because let's talk about fidget spinner man. If he only stayed doing fidget spinners, he's not going to get to legacy level because the trend, yes, they're still sold, but certainly not at the trend that they were.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So he needs to keep looking for other products that will keep going. So he had to do
Yeah.
something, but just doing nothing would
Yeah.
just let it fizzle out.
Hopefully, fidget spinner man or fidget spinner lady is still around. I hope so. Oh my goodness.
Wow, more side
So,
quests. Anyway,
oh my goodness. We are good at side quests, aren't we? I think just quickly, did a group training last week, and I think our clients in about 3 minutes really realized what it must be like with you living with me because I talked about one thing that led into another thing that meant my brain went to somewhere else, and they're all just looking at me like, "What?" I've got to tell you this story about the cleaner in the cupboard that smelled like vanilla because the dog was peeing on the carpet, and because I was thinking about that other thing about that other thing, and they're all looking like, "Oh my god,"
oh, I'm
you
pretty
don't want to be
sure.
in my
Oh,
head.
you had Aries with an
My whole brain works on
undiagnosed
side quests
ADHD, so that's
constantly.
probably going to make it interesting.
Exactly.
We're doing crazy stuff. We're
Oh,
doing it
let's wrap this
fast.
up, Leon. So when you've been listening, I'm sure that you noticed, which stage you're in. And I think it's really important to be honest with yourself about which stage you're in, not where you want to be, but where you actually are right now. Because the most expensive thing you can do is apply the wrong stages solutions to your current reality. It'll mean that you get stuck in that stage for way, way longer. You don't want to be a stage 3 owner in the constraint stage, stuck in that hustle stage of the operator. You don't want to be a stage 4 business owner that's still operating like a stage 3 business owner, because the stage that you're in determines everything and what you need to build next. What you need to stop doing, what you need to start doing, what you need to implement, the identity that you need to take on, and what advice is actually relevant to where you are right now. So get really clear on that so that you can really make the decision on what needs to happen next. If you do need help to understand what it is that you do need to do next, please DM me on Instagram. Just DM me the word scale and we can jump on a quick scale session. We'll talk about which stage you're in and I will give you very quickly the next 3 things that you need to do so that you can speed up the process and get to the next stage. So just, yeah, DM me the word scale on Instagram and I will quite happily jump on a call with you. It is my passion to help people build profitable businesses. Leon, thanks for going on side quests with me and chatting about the 5 constraint stages.
No worries.
There were some crazy stories in there today. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of Business Growth Lab. We look forward to seeing you next week for another episode. Ciao.